This episode is sponsored by Bigger City. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping our show to grow.
Hello and welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and it's we're recording on daylight savings time day. It's that we're having that like you're stepping down the steps, and there's an extra step, but there's not, and you fall a little bit. You spill your coffee, you bite your tongue.
Ouch.
You kind of hit the corner as you're turning around the hall. It's just everything's a little off kilter, but we're happy to be here with you.
Yeah. My name is Mike Willer. I'm a chubby chaser, and I don't have any of. I didn't have any of those experiences this morning, and I was feeling fine. But now, by the time we actually hit record on this episode, I'm like, okay, so are we done yet? We're not. No, we're not done yet. We still have the chubbies left to do because we're recording out of order. Mm-hmm. So big energy, big energy, big energy.
Hey there, my name's Don. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and today I am an Oscared up Oscar boy. I am that annoying guy in the corner of your party who is advocating for the holdovers.
Wow, that's amazing. Is that a movie?
It is. I'm the guy cheering on Paul Giamatti when no one else is.
Bless your heart.
Hello, this is Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser. And today, I was a very good boy. I went to bed early. I went to bed an hour early so I could get up an hour on time.
So only 12:30.
It's very strange. It's very strange. But I'm coming off a cold, so.
As always, thank you to our patrons, our supporters of all kinds, our listeners who are you. There you go. A little kiss. A little kiss on the forehead. Thank you for all the ways everyone supports our podcast, whether it be financially on Patreon, by giving listeners discounts for underwear with our promo code BigFatGayPod for 15% off Bearskin.
Thank you, Bearskin.
For giving us a cut when you buy a mattress. It's all wonderful things from Bearskin, Big Fig, Bigger City, Patreon, and you, just for giving us a little listen.
Yeah.
And let's roll right on into it.
Let's do it.
I'm feeling a little smooth after that. It's like when the awards show, someone's coming up on stage and they trip a little and everyone's like, oh, and then they clap because they didn't fall down.
There is much rejoicing when Trevor does not fall down.
Especially for the people downstairs.
Yeah.
First up.
Yeah. Speaking of hitting a stride, walking, living, thriving, out of Canada, we have a story about Meredith Shaw opening up about being one of the very few plus-size women on Canadian TV. Meredith Shaw is a host of a morning show, breakfast television.
I love the sound of that.
I couldn't tell if that was the name of the show or if that was the genre they call it in Canada.
So that'd be like Canadian Good Morning America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's always strange because like I know Canada's different, but I feel like I very often don't think about the ways it's different. And like that they have their own morning shows and that like it's breakfast television. And it's kind of like being at your cousin's house when it's like, oh, they have a different kind of milk than we have and they buy different cereal.
Canada's just cousin America.
Yeah.
They're America with empathy and kindness.
And healthcare.
Healthcare.
They still face body shaming, which I always think like, oh, Canada's nice and like everything's great and fine there. And the Canadian listeners are politely clutching the wheel and be like, oh, actually, it's.
I'm not sure if that's.
Well, that is their national.
Correct.
That is their national anthem. It's "Oh Canada."
But so the Kit, which is a Canadian magazine, was highlighting kind of some of these plus size. It was a plus size model. It was Meredith Shaw, who's the host. Another host of Tracy Moore of the Great Canadian Baking Show, and Anne Pornell. Anne Pornell is from the Great Canadian Baking Show, and Tracy Moore is from Cityline. And just this great photo shoot. Meredith Shaw in this
Holy
dress
crap.
with cutouts.
gorgeous.
Like I want like a jumpsuit version of that.
Wow.
And you should. Yeah.
Wow.
It is beautifully, it is form-fitting, it is revealing, but also not. It's like sheer, but in places, but overall black.
It's
just gorgeous.
It almost looks like tiger stripes, but the stripes are
Are sleazy.
Are the stripes flesh tone material or actually cut out of the garment?
I'm going to guess flesh tone material the way that a lot of like figure
I
skating.
was guessing translucent material. Like
Maybe. I think more likely to hold its shape.
Oh yeah, it has to hold its shape.
To hold
That's
its
true.
shape,
Yeah.
I suspect it's like ice skaters when they have like new leggings, they're fabric.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous, and and the point of the spread was to raise the conversation around how overly obsessed our society is on women's bodies, whether they be in massive air quotes too big, too small, or how we describe bodies. Do we use the word fat? Do we say flattering? This occurred to me in photography lingo when you say, oh, we're gonna get this like a more flattering angle, which is code for we're gonna hide the part of you that looks fat.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so it's just talking about the language we use when we discuss size.
I actually thought The Simpsons kind of nailed it. They did an episode where Homer Simpson becomes an executive at the nuclear power plant and gets a personal assistant. And the personal assistant is like the super assistant that everyone dreams of. And he takes Homer to get a suit. And he's like, the tailor is measuring Homer as he's got like a rough suit on. And the assistant looks at Homer and goes, all right, let it go. And Homer goes like, what? What do you mean? I said, let it go. And Homer exhales and redoubles, right? He just gets so much bigger. And then the assistant turns to the tailor and says, you, hide it.
Oh, God.
That's, oh boy. I want to end by reading. So there's an Instagram post from the kit, but then also,
And the kid is the magazine that did this spread, right?
Yes, but then also Meredith shared the post and wrote her own post about it. And one of the excerpts that I think sort of summarizes all this is she says, one of the keys to progress is conversation and therefore language. The words we choose to use to discuss ourselves and others are incredibly important to the reshaping of what we societally deem as acceptable, aspirational, celebrated, and worthy. That is the take we decided to focus on in this piece, our body language.
Yeah, and there's something else that she says about language. She talks in particular about how she still has not made friends with the word fat, but she admires the people who have.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I appreciate that because we've been trained to be jarred by it. Yeah.
Like as much as we've talked about it on the show, like I when I have referred to myself as fat in public, I have received pushback.
Yeah.
Often.
Oh,
It's
people are like, don't
very
say that
interesting.
about yourself. It's terrible.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've become so casual about it in day to day,
Yeah.
Well, and I think that is one of the easiest and direct ways you can fight fat phobia, which is the fear of being or becoming fat. That saying the word, no, it's okay. It's like tall. It's like yellow. It's like rectangular. It's an adjective. It deflates it. And
What
then
is
to
kind
have-
of weird is when you said rectangular, you became a rectangle to me. Like it just,
It
happened.
Yeah. I lost my circle status.
You
He's
did.
skilled. Very skilled.
Moving on, I don't know. I feel like it's still the theme of like cousins, where it's like we're going to
across
our
the
other
pond.
cousin's house in the UK.
Our like uncomfortable cousin that always shares a lot of like, uncomfortable opinions, but very quietly. So you have to sort of sit there and just listen.
No, I feel like the UK is the cousin's house where the aunt puts down this huge coffee cake and then says, so have you thought about doing something about your weight?
And then they give you a thin slice and you're like, I don't know if I should
then
eat this.
guess
or
this is a
drink.
not.
It's a
This
drink.
feels like a trap.
But then gets offended and shit talks you behind your back when you don't eat their coffee cake that they slaved over to make for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry, we're slamming the Brits. Look, Brits, we love
I
you.
think our issues may be on display, people.
We are, just so we're clear, America sucks too. Like we're not saying
No, but if you ever see a newspaper article about so-and-so lost so much weight, so-and-so looks like a disgusting pig, so-and-so no longer looks like a disgusting pig. It's
invariably
always British
from
media.
the U.
It's always from the UK. Sometimes Australia, almost always British.
Yeah.
So this is from BNN, which I was...
Yeah.
When that came through the news aggregator, I'm like, am I having a stroke? This just
because it looks like the same logo as CNN.
The worst part was that my brain immediately said bigger news network. And
Too much to hope for, too much too fast.
the headline is Peter Mendelsohn critiqued for fat shaming Keir Starmer amidst political image debate.
Yeah. And in addition to being indecipherable and unpronounceable, it basically is talking about one politician making comments that another politician should lose weight to look better.
To represent their party better,
represent
because
their
they're in
party
the same
better.
political party.
They're in the same party.
And then it, of course, attracted, somebody from an opposing party said, no, we shouldn't be focusing on body image. We should be focusing, stop
I don't know, on the political ideas.
Yeah, like and the content. And so, so it's stupid because, of course, politicians should be focused on policy, right?
Yeah.
But people are stupid and people will focus on appearance. That's the whole George Bush thing, right? Like, he's the guy that I could have a beer with.
Well, or no, it's this. It's like, I really like his wife's hair.
Yeah.
Or I don't like his wife's hair,
Totally
so I can't vote for him.
senseless things to attach to.
So when I looked up, I'm going to struggle through this again.
Yeah.
Sir Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
Sir Keir Starmer. Like, he's not,
But it's probably some Welsh name that
he's
we're
like
just
not
getting
fat.
completely.
Like, he's
Irish.
he just like looks, I don't know, like a completely
like a politician?
average guy. Well, no, it's like my first thought when I saw him was like, oh, he is like your dad's handsome friend that, like, when you're 12 years old, you're like, I think I might like men. He's like, he's handsome and like he's, I don't know, a little.
I think what
thick,
you're saying
maybe?
is, I think what you're saying is that he's so fat he looks American.
I feel like barely that, because he still looks very, like, I don't know, British European.
Yeah, he's like
200.
got
that, like,
Is it the kind of thing where, like, in Love Actually, the secretary, or like the I don't know what her position was, but the woman in the I almost said the White House, the woman who serves the prime minister, who's like curvy and he's really into her, but then we just talked about this.
Yes.
Anyway, that kind of fat.
I mean, I guess, but also I was like, is this the right guy?
He's in a suit, so you can't tell.
Yeah.
I was actually,
I feel like
I really felt like, the like gay questioning 12-year-old, because I'm like, I was like, Keir Starmer bathing suit to see if there was like paparazzi pictures, because like I really could not get it. Like, why are they talking about his weight? Because it's just like, and like fat bodies are normal, but it's just like he is just such a normal, like, when you just think of like picture a man. Mm-hmm. We were talking about the whole thing of like picture a Barbie. It's like picture a man. I feel like most people just picture like a very generic like.
So one thing that also came up in the article was the talking about one of the other politicians, and I'm not going to go look up the name because I don't really care, was criticized for wearing skinny suits. And so I feel like
Richie Sunak,
yeah. So there's kind of a double-edged thing of like, you can't look too hot and fit and trim, but you can't look too fat. You have to look approachable but handsome, but not too handsome.
Yeah,
like,
this is part of the body neutrality movement, that you are divorced from your body. Do not consider it in any shape, way. It's never a consideration. And the problem is that just drives it underground. So it's more of a consideration.
We should all look like the Greendale human being. Gray tubes.
That's a community reference for those of you not in the know. I do feel like as Americans, we don't really get to weigh in on this because we have not progressed past fat shaming in our politics.
Yeah, but we don't have a national press industry involved that heavily in selling newspapers with fat shaming. Like, it does
Chris
come up.
Christie might disagree.
Well, and it did at that time. But I think that was, 20 years ago now?
No,
well,
this was last year too. Like, Chris Christie was attacking Trump, and all you heard about was fat Chris Christie.
Yeah.
The same thing happened with Trump too.
Trump's only criticism of Chris Christie was his fatness. That was the one thing he would always comment on.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like pot, kettle, pot.
Yeah. No, and there's also the other side of that, which is the people who attack Trump I can't stand his politics, that fat, orange, fat, like fat,
Yeah.
like using fat as a slur because, he is.
But I feel like it's more in private discourse that is publicized rather than in the media reporting this person is too fat.
Yeah, the news story.
That's true.
That we don't have news stories about them being fat.
Yeah,
whereas the British
these things are all happening in tweets.
I think you could argue that when they just keep holding up the same quotes as an excuse to talk about the fatness of the other candidate, they're sidestepping it pretty nicely.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah. I don't know. I don't know enough to take a stand on it.
I just think it's very I agree, and we have a lot of our own shit around politics and fatness. But I guess what really got me is this, in no way can I perceive this politician as fat. So the fact that this is there is a debate happening, and really any of these politicians.
Yeah, but I mean, as I say, fat is a localized event. And, fat in one family is not fat in another family. Fat in one part of the country is not fat in another part of the country, part of the world.
Yeah. And I don't know if any of you remember Boris Johnson.
Yep.
Yes.
I thought he was pretty fat, but at the same time he was being sexualized.
Oh, you mean like Donald Trump?
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, if you're a right-wing dictator, you're never too fat.
That's interesting. That's
A
interesting.
note to self.
A new power for being an infinifat.
Yes.
Trevor has a new career option.
Taking over a country.
Eagle
Pull the ripcord.
Yes.
has summoned you.
I just felt myself getting sucked out of the plane.
Fat Boss 2020.
Hold the ripcord. We're soaring, we're flying, we're falling. It's the opening of Charlie's Angels.
I like that movie.
So I love this Fat Watch today. So
Yes.
Trevor shared this, I don't know, a couple months ago.
It was sometime, I think, in January.
It was, and it was so, I'm going to play it. Is that okay if I play it? All right. So
Once upon a time, there was a young girl who would only eat 2 graham crackers all day long. That girl was me. I looked very healthy and slim on the outside and got lots of compliments on my figure. But in reality, I was weak and weepy and bruised at the merest pressure. Those days are long past. These days, 2 graham crackers would be a pleasant evening snack, although usually with a dab or 2 of peanut butter added. Instead of focusing on restricting and denying myself, I've learned to allow myself to be nourished. To some folks, I eat too much or eat too much of the wrong thing, and that's okay. They think I'm too fat, and I really don't mind. They haven't walked the path I've walked. They haven't seen the health and happiness that's replaced what once was. There are all kinds of ways of being healthy. Healthy doesn't always look the same. The truth is, this is what recovery looks like, my dears. Recovery isn't perfection. It's learning to make incrementally better choices day by day, and I am the only one who can make those better choices for myself. The only person who can make me happy is me.
So that was Diane Schiffer on Instagram. I'm sure she's probably also on TikTok. She's Schiffer Diane.
Yeah, and she's just the sweetest thing. She looks like Mrs. Santa Claus.
She really
Yes,
does.
she does.
She's so cute.
Yeah.
She is
she has she
grandma
put a trigger
vibes.
warning for disordered eating. This is
Yeah.
the I don't know. I admire her so much. I want to be like this when I'm older.
I felt like a sadness because my grandmas were R.I.P. both my grandmas. They weren't really super nice. I mean, my grandma on my dad's side, there was a lot of baggage from my dad that kind of I feel tainted that and made it weird. And then my grandma on mom's side, she was just kind of a bitch. I don't know. Sorry to any of my relatives who are listening.
Well, and particularly on your mother's side, I think your grandmother there, talk about disordered eating.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was so stressful. It was the thing. It was like the coffee cake where it's putting out coffee cake. And if you ate it, you got in trouble. Cause of course you're eating that coffee cake.
Yeah.
But then it's
They're
why
setting
aren't
a
you
trap.
eating the coffee cake? It's I literally, I don't know what to do. I'm 6 years old. Help. I don't.
Yeah. Well, and it's because the answer is you're fat, therefore wrong.
Uh-huh.
You are wrong. That is the state of your body.
But I just I love seeing a well-adjusted older woman
like eloquent.
Yes, and like I don't know, she's like such a cozy grandma, and she does all these super sweet videos.
Isn't that her handle, Cozy Grandma?
Diane Schiffer Diane is her handle.
No, it's
We need more sweet people like this in the world. And especially like when I'm getting advice from a little old lady like this, I don't expect it to actually like fall in line with what I've learned, right? I expect it to be old world advice of the eat less, exercise more, variety, obsess on your weight. I don't expect reassurance. I don't expect comfort, from the older generation.
And just the degree of education. I feel like a lot of times in an older generation, no matter how forward thinking they are, it's still contextualized by their generation.
Yeah.
But her talking about like disordered eating and recovery and like having, again, like a trigger warning on the front of her post, like these are things that maybe she got help from somebody younger translating, but it doesn't really matter because
I've heard that accusation before, and I just think it's an interesting one. And I don't think you're making it. I'm just saying I've heard this accusation when an older person is presenting with language like this. I think I hear a lot of accusations of people saying like they're being given words by someone younger. Someone's putting words into their mouth.
Well, the other way around too. But a younger person saying that they must be the parents are putting the words in their mouth.
Yeah, but the reason why I think it's important to talk about it with her specifically is like she is saying things there wasn't language for 20 years ago, right? What other language could she use to express this stuff clearly and concisely? It has to be the language from the younger generation because we don't have those words.
Right. And I would just like to point out, as the oldest fogey in the group, that every diet idea you've ever heard was at one time cutting edge health technology.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Whether if you go to a diner, an old New York diner, and you look at the diet plates, they're all the low carb diets from the 60s and 70s.
Yes.
If you think about
cottage cheese
and tomato slices.
Yeah, I have seen that.
Okay, well, let's go back even further. This idea that you should, like where she talks about graham crackers and lots of exercise and a little food and these unrefined. Well, what's that? Well, that's from the 1890s. That's the Kellogg wellness generation.
To give it, and just to underscore, how many people have been told like, oh, go put a coat on. There's a chill outside. You're going to catch
that drives
a
me
cold,
crazy.
right? But there's a reason for it. Like in the 1800s, they thought you could get a cold by being chilly.
They even had a word for it.
Right.
Getting a cold.
Yep. So like it just shows how persistent some of these ideas are. And if you don't re-examine them every once in a while, you're stuck with them for generations.
It's true.
I think also something important is, so there's always the whole thing of fat people being told like, you're going to die. There's no old fat people.
God.
Yeah.
There's
so many old fat people.
And a lot of them, it's just like, how many, like just they're old and like they got stuff going on and like, but to see like, I don't know, a visibly old, visibly fat woman just like living her life, being cozy as heck.
And being so unaffected.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like
by
engaging
bullshit.
with trolls like a little bit to just be like, oh, actually, no, thank you, please.
Well, and just like totally not giving him any power.
Yes.
Like,
That's what it is.
yeah.
I want her to be my grandma.
Yeah.
And I want to go to Tim Hortons with her and have some chili and like also some Tim Hortons because I haven't had Tim Hortons, but the donuts look so
When
good.
you say have a Tim Hortons, what does that mean for those of us not in the know?
Tim Hortons is, I feel like like the American explaining Tim for our non-Canadian listeners
Like us.
Tim Hortons is a chain of like donut coffee shops. It is like I feel like Canadian
like Dunkin'
Starbucks,
Donuts.
Like Dunkin' Donuts, yeah.
I don't know, but I feel like people really prefer Tim Hortons.
Yes. You'll get
Like
in an
there's
argument
a
about
different,
this,
like I feel like we don't really have a cultural equivalent. Maybe Dunkin' Donuts, but like Tim Hortons also has more food and like
Okay. I will say the Dunkin' Donuts French cruller, the best thing in the world. I love the French cruller.
Well, speaking of donuts, just because as we were talking about donuts, I was thinking of the.
It is genius.
The best segue ever. And if that ends up on the cutting room floor, we will have words, Michael.
That's staying in. That's staying in for sure.
On Bigger City, the flirt for passive here is a donut.
Yeah, of course it is.
And
The emoji, the flirt. Yeah.
I was thinking of a way we could segue into our main topic.
And there
it
you have
popped
it.
into my head.
He did a great job.
Today we are talking about we wanted to talk. We were just like on a call talking about the notion of like flirts on Bigger City, but then also the bigger conversation of these types of communications on other apps. Sometimes they're flirts, sometimes they're growls. On Grindr, it's taps. These icebreaker messages that sometimes have images with them, other times they don't. So I shared everyone the grid of the Bigger City flirts, but I also want to send the list of default growls you can send on Growler.
Are these sounds?
Messages that someone came up with.
Oh, they're meanings. They're like subtitles for the pictures.
Growls, there's no pictures. It is just a message. Like if you're like, I don't know what to say to this person, you can go to this list.
It's a pre-written.
Their default is woof.
It's a pre-written message.
Yeah. So I think these are good in theory, but I think sometimes it's just like, if I receive one, I don't know what to do with it. Especially in the case, I just sent everyone the Growler ones. So at the top of the list, they're pretty normal. It's like, growl, woof. I would love to see your private media. I would love to chat with you. Thanks, bud. Hugs, you're hot. But then so Growler has some especially unhinged ones at the end.
I would drink your bathwater.
Yeah. My love for you is like diarrhea. I just can't hold it.
It's sort of like these are the rejects from the Candy Heart Factory of Valentine's Day.
I just love the person who sends that. I think that is a good pre-written message because the person who selects that, you know what you're getting into.
I actually do like one of these. It's you've been a bad boy. Go to my room.
Yeah.
I like that one.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Although I'm not if I receive that, what am I going to do with it? Yeah.
Well, just conceptually, it's funny.
What is the point here? Yeah. So, what do we feel about flirts? Do you use them? Do you receive them? How do you receive them? What do you think?
Well, I think because they're derived from cliche pickup lines, except they're not even that complicated because they have to fit in a few words.
Well, you're talking about the Growler ones in specific.
Sure.
We're talking in general.
No,
flirts,
but even if you did think of even if there's a picture with it, even if the picture is woof, even if the picture is tongue hanging out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's still... It's still coming from, and pardon me for analogizing this to the past 10,000 years of humanity, but it's flirting as in real life flirting. And it's it comes from that.
But there's a key difference, which is that an online app-based flirt requires it's a zero effort engagement.
Yes.
Whereas if you
No
walk up to somebody and you have a pickup line, that takes fucking guts.
It does.
You got to go put yourself out there
and memorization
and then confidence. Like you have to be confident enough to just approach somebody and talk to them. So a flirt in terms of Bigger City, for instance, where it's image based, or Growler where it's just a pre-written message, whatever. What do you do with that? Do you like them? Do you what do you take from it?
In my experience, no one has ever lost out on a date because their opening line wasn't good enough. Because usually it's a visual medium. People are responding to your pics. People are responding to your profile. And if you mess up the flirt, it's not going to kill you.
Well, so that begs the question, though, is there a purpose for the flirt?
It's to make contact.
We've had this conversation before where I think you and I were on the opposite ends of the spectrum, where I believe in the flirt. I use the flirt, but the flirt is simply I have noticed you. I think you look interesting. Do you reciprocate that feel? That's all the flirt is to me.
But here's the genius with Bigger City, which I love. I and everyone has the capability of disabling the flirt mechanism, so for people like me, I am not going to respond to a flirt. I will respond to a message and I will respond to it commensurate with the effort put into it. If somebody writes hi, I will write hi back if I'm interested, or I'll just give them an emoji like smiley face. So because that's about it, because it's commensurate effort. And I've disabled flirts because honestly, it's too easy, and I don't want to hit that ball back and forth for 16 times with emojis.
If someone sends me a flirt, I will flirt back, and sometimes I'll message them, but usually I'll just flirt back, and if they want to message me, they can.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the case, and it's been a while since I haven't had premium on Bigger City. On Bigger City, do you have a limited amount of messages you can send to someone who you don't have an existing message with per day?
I have received messages indicating that.
Okay.
Probably. And the solution is, pay for it. It's the price of a cup of coffee, every week.
Well, there's because there is a flirt on Bigger City that's like, message me.
Yeah.
I have
See, that would make me feel a little resentful. Like, do the work for me. Like, no.
Well, but again, if Trevor's argument is if they haven't paid for a subscription for some reason, they can receive your message, but they can't initiate the message.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's what they're doing instead.
Gotcha.
Sure, I guess. But again, I just disable it.
So I have on my profile, I have as part of my thing, like I don't respond to flirts. It's not that I don't appreciate them on some level. I just don't check them. I'm not interested in them.
Well, that's the other way they occur for me. It's another place for me to check.
Yeah. Like,
well, I'm also wondering like what the volume difference is in flirts that chasers get versus chubs get.
Oh, quite true.
You know, because like if you guys are talking like I get 30 a day, I might disable it too. I get maybe, a few a week, so I feel,
I'm a word guy. If someone can't put 3 or 4 words together all by themselves, I don't know. I don't need to do that. And if they're super hot, I probably already know who they are anyway, because I will surf all the pictures.
I also find that flirt to me, again, I'm not on Bigger City to find like hookups. And so flirt to me implies a kind of, sexual chemistry agreement.
Really?
Is that fair?
I mean, there is a flirt, which I would be curious how much this one gets used. The very last flirt on the list is, thanks, but I'm not interested.
Oh, I love
it's
that.
a little like smiley
I've
face
never
waving
received
as
that.
it goes through a door.
Well, people
I
are
saw that
terrified
and
of
I
it.
was wondering how I would feel if I got that.
People are terrified of that. And honestly, there are many times when I've taken the time to handwrite, well, that is to say, think of the words, where I say, thank you, no. And invariably, I get thanked for it because the people I'm writing to, and maybe it's because sometimes they're older, but they thank me for just making it clear rather than ignoring them. Because I think there's a lot of people who would prefer to hear no than nothing, and there are a lot of people who would prefer to hear nothing than no.
Oh,
so
does that make both responses equally valid?
I suppose, but I think.
So at that point,
but I guess
at that point, your choice says more about you than the other person.
Exactly. And especially if someone's made a couple of, it depends. I will sometimes not bother because if they're just hitting me up with emojis and highs and woofs and like, I don't need to respond to that. If I'm not interested, I don't need to respond. But if they've taken effort to compose an introduction, I'm not going to ignore that. That's not fair. I feel bad. And what I mean is I feel bad about ignoring that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to present the flip side for flirts. Like when I get a flirt, it's frequently for someone I have not seen before. I virtually never get flirts from people whose images I've seen 1,000 times.
But is there a reason for that? Like do you ever get a flirt and go, wow, how did I miss this person?
Yes.
Okay.
More often than not.
I would say I have that too.
Yeah, more often than not. And like, so one, it's a way for them to get on my radar when I'm not seeing them.
Okay.
Right. And two, I like the opportunity to look at their profile, to know that they have an interest in me, and I will look at it differently, right? I will look a little more closely at somebody who has expressed an interest
because they've expressed an interest.
Yeah. But they've done it in a way that is less risky to them, less putting out to them. I don't think worse of them for that, right? Like, why should they have to risk everything just to see or risk? Why should they feel they are exposing themselves to more risk just to find out if I look twice at their picture? So yeah, for me, that works very well.
So let's change the context a little bit. Let's go back to Growler, where a lot of those flirts are sexually explicit. and now we're not just talking about making contact in a relatively innocent way or like cute little animated flames because you're hot. It's like
or frosted donut.
Yeah, I want to drink your bath water. Like that is a pre-written flirt on Growler. How do those strike people? I'm curious. I mean, I think you all know how it would hit me, but what do you think?
I mean, for me, it's if someone chooses that, I don't find it witty. I find it less witty that they chose it. Like they had to select that. It's not that they came up with that and it didn't go so well. They chose that. And I'm like, thanks, no. Like I'm not going to respond. End of story. I'm not going to respond. And I think that's fair because they are looking for the person who would respond to that.
Yeah.
And that ain't me. So
That's
I think
fair.
it's fine.
Yeah.
Match.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing, we know that these apps are used for sex by a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be offended because someone looks at my pictures and says, I think I might want to have sex with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in that marketplace that just because I'm not always looking for a hookup doesn't mean that I don't want to be invited to the party.
Yeah.
You know?
It really depends on, especially with Growler, it depends on the flirt. I feel like they're either just so generic or like off-putting. You know, are you a fart because you blew me away? Like, I don't know if it would be better or worse. If like one of the ones that I find like really just unhinged, if it was a guy who was like super handsome, I would be so conflicted. Because like if it's like I'm not really interested in them, or like they're just, I don't know, generic.
I have to admit, when I see that really weird text message with a super hot picture, I tend to think either catfish or what was it, the bubble from,
yeah.
Like, oh, you're just someone who's so hot that they've never been exposed to how stupid they are.
Like, well, but here's my hypothesis, and this goes back to what I was saying at the very beginning, which is if you're interested and the flirt is awful, you will follow up.
Oh yeah. Oh,
that's my hypothesis.
Because we are awful, shallow human beings.
Which is what I mean when I say it almost doesn't matter.
Yeah. But to key into what Trevor said, I do agree. For me, like getting a woof on Growler, you are more likely to get me to look at your profile because it's just sort of the generic wave.
Hi, I'm over
it's
here.
It's the hi, I like, as opposed to hi, I want to drink your bathwater.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets so specific that now I'm a little nervous.
So like if Henry Cavill sent me, my love for you is like diarrhea, I just can't hold it in, don't think I'd respond because like I wouldn't even know what to do. Like,
you know what I would do? I would absolutely respond and check to see if they had a coprophilia thing.
Oh no,
that would be my first thought. That would be my first thought. Why are you choosing that? That would be my first thought.
And I have
because I'm me.
I have had that with like a really handsome guy.
Yes, you have.
Grindr, and it was just he was just so handsome, and it's like I am not into this at all, and. He was very polite about it. I was like, I'm sorry, I can't.
Well, because you were both very respectful. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not into shit. And he's like, oh, I understand that.
It would be Henry Cavill. That's the monkey paw. The finger curls up.
Yeah.
You're going to get a perfect human specimen, but no pun intended.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, his kink drives you wild. Yeah.
So with woofs, for example, with woofs, you can customize the message that is sent out, right? So you could make a customized intro greeting that you send to everybody that you have interest in, right?
Just like blast everybody in your area.
No, really?
No.
Can you?
Well, it's basically cut and paste message, just boom, boom,
right,
boom,
but
boom.
isn't there a thing with Grindr that you
no.
Shout, I think, is gone now.
Oh.
No, I think you still can shouts, but I think people don't use it because like you can. So a shout on Growler is you can set a mile radius to blast everyone within that distance. And the price you pay depends on how big the area is.
Smart.
So it was very frequently used for like if there was a bear night or something at a bar.
An event.
But also like just Don and I were talking about before we recorded, there was a guy who would always just be like, I'm blindfolded in my garage or like hotel room and like just come fuck me.
Though to also point out this was used for good too. I remember there were multiple shouts for group mental health sessions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Free yoga classes.
It's community building.
Are you saying that the guy who's blindfolded in his garage trying to get fucked by a bunch of strangers isn't using it for good?
Well, he's definitely building community.
Free condoms at the door.
No, that kind of person does not want them to use condoms.
Probably so.
But what Don was talking about is the growl system, which is all these different flirts. You can create a custom message.
So like if you're talking about like you need to customize, does that bypass your issue if it's just a cut and paste message, but it's genuinely customized from them?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at two things. One, am I even interested? Mm-hmm. And that's on a scale, right? Because you're like, oh, I'm definitely interested. And like, oh, I might be interested. Let me find out more. And like, I'm not interested. Like there's something. And then there's, okay, what are they showing me? And does that, like, is it great? Do I just, Like, if a really hot guy just, my thing, if a really hot guy just says hi, I'm like, oh, hi, hello. If it's someone I'm not sure about, I'm like, hi. And I'll look at the profile and maybe I'll ask a question based on the profile.
So we've only looked at this from one angle, which is receiving them. What about sending them? Do anybody, I guess, Trevor, you talked about it a little bit, but do you guys use flirts?
I used to.
You used to?
Yeah, I use them fairly aggressively.
And how do you feel that does it work? Do you get good connections out of it?
It's this, I'd say I get the same number of cold responses that I do from a text message.
Do you mean like, sending sending your own words?
Yes, but so when I send a flirt, I don't expect a message back. I expect a flirt back at most. Right?
Interesting.
That's the most I expect, right? Because again, that's how I'm using it. Are you interested? I'm interested. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's look closely. Then I'll send a message, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting because I sometimes use flirts, and I will send a flirt if I think the person is attractive, but they don't really have anything for me to go on their profile. I don't know if
that's
they're
a very
even available.
frequent flirt message.
And
for me.
I will
wait. You send the flirt because
they're hot and I don't know what they're.
They have no profile, but they have a picture.
Yeah, there's a picture or the profile is I'll tell you later.
Yes,
that kind of thing. But you're hot enough where I'm interested.
Yeah.
But here's a flirt for you.
Can I just say, when is later? You've had your profile up for 10 years. When is later?
And I will
Later, Dan.
I will not wait for a flirt. I will if they're really interested, they will message me and I am done here. And
my work is done. Yeah.
And maybe I will flirt back to their flirt if they flirt back. But I am not messaging
a
you.
A mutually returned flirt is also not a commitment. Just because we've both flirted does not mean there will be messages.
Well, so here's a question though. What do you do if you send somebody, again, I'm not that familiar with the flirts because I think you have to pay for Bigger City to send them.
No.
I don't know.
Do you not? Well, I can't find them, so whatever.
Maybe you've disabled them.
I don't use them. But what if you send somebody something I think you're hot, flames, googly eyes, whatever, and they send you back a little wave. What is that? How do you take that?
I've never had that happen.
I have.
I take that as not interested.
Okay.
And politely.
Well, what I find is I don't use flirts, but I actively use the emojis to comment on people's photos.
Oh, okay.
I actively use those because
I've never done that.
And I'm really particular about which emoji I choose. And it's interesting. So for example, if I send somebody, I don't know, flames on their picture, if they respond back to me with oh yeah, thumbs up, yours. And I don't get offended for two reasons. One, I don't need the ego stroking. That's fine. But two, it's also that I know that on the mobile app, the thumbs up is it's the button.
Yeah.
It's right
the
there.
default.
Yeah. Someone has to go to extra trouble to select something else.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're yeah, you too, that's what they're going to press. So I don't take it personally.
No, I'm the same way. If the thing is a compliment.
Yeah.
Any other icon was chosen deliberately. That's always been my case.
Which is why, and again, because I do use that vigorously, I'm very generous with that if I feel it.
That's interesting because I never do that because I feel I don't want people to know I'm stalking them.
No. And then in my follow-up email, I say, I'm stalking you.
Yeah.
I don't engage with that just because I'm I don't know. I feel I'm this isn't Facebook. I'm not trying to react to different photos.
In my experience, especially in the Chubb universe, as opposed to the Gainer universe, I think it's really important. Well, maybe in the Gainer universe too. I think to cultivate that sense of body positivity, that there's a hot guy in Alabama or someplace I'm probably not going to go. Mm-hmm. And he's super hot. He's super cute. I don't need to have a conversation because if I had a conversation, it would be, wow, you're really cute. Those are great pictures. Well, I can communicate that with a flame emoji on the really hot picture.
Yeah. Give him some compliment, validation.
It's a way to give a compliment. He sees that I've done that and he can respond or not.
Mm-hmm. I have to laugh. I was going to say I wish I just realized I have done that with a number of people in Sweden and Germany for some reason.
Well, because it's what, you might be into that. And
I don't think they speak English.
Well, but they don't need to. That's the beauty of it. Mm-hmm. Well, come on, Sweden, of course they speak English.
I guess that's actually, a fair point. That's an easy way to communicate with somebody who might have a different primary language than you.
if you are on a dating app online, you use English. I mean, unless you're talking to somebody else in your same country and they don't speak English, but it's the lingua franca. Even a lot of porn, like a lot of gainer porn, is in English, even just because it's the lingua franca of gaining. It's ridiculous.
I mean, what we learned from our conversation here is that flirts are a tool to be used or not used as you wish. Don't expect them to change your life, but they can provide a nice little hand wave, a nice little introduction to people, especially if you're feeling a little low risk. Don't feel worried about dropping some flame icons on some people's pictures in order to open up some new lines of conversation.
That's a flame like you're hot, not a flame like I'll tell you what's up.
Oh yeah.
I would also say maybe don't use the I'm not interested flirt, because I would be curious to know how often that has been used compared to the other emoji.
Yeah.
flirt things.
The thing is, I think it's so useful and no one's going to use it.
I feel like it's just a weird thing to depict, like a little smiley face being like, bye.
And then shuts the door behind them.
Yeah.
Well, I think in some cases, like if you've received 67 flirts and you have not responded and you're on the 68th and you're like, you know what, here's the not interested emoji. Like I can see people using it that way without guilt or repercussion.
I just have a blanket, like I don't respond to flirts, but I respond to messages on my profile. And if people don't read my profile and send me flirts anyway, well, that's on them.
They can't send me flirts.
Well, Don, I think we have a relevant bit that we should maybe just dive into.
Oh no, I'm so unprepared for this. I need to go last.
Do have a bit today, and Michael's going to be leading us off.
No.
I got one.
Oh, okay.
God damn it.
So today we've looked at our lists of woofs, our list of little emoticon flirts on Bigger City, and we have found all of them lacking. We think that we have the perfect emoticon that you need to add to your flirt lists.
Yes.
Michael, Dan, what was yours?
Okay, so if I understand the assignment, it's to come up with an emoji that we would like to have but is not there.
A flirt.
Yes,
A flirt specific.
A new flirt that.
Okay, so I have two versions of this, so I'm not sure which one to. If I don't want to take one away from someone, if they.
Oh no, put them out.
Okay, but they're basically.
I mean, be a friend. You could just tell me one.
So this is what I was initially imagining. So I was initially imagining because, like, basically, what I want to communicate is, let's meet for dinner. Like, let's go on a date. Let's meet for coffee or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so it would be an emoji of two people, and I guess you could have options for gender, but that could get complicated. For my intents and purposes, two guys at a dinner table, like facing each other, and there's like and there's like a drink or something. Okay.
I can see them clinking wine glasses,
something like that. Yeah. And then the simpler version of that, and it is a little different. Like, let's say, gosh, you can't. There are only so many pixels in this frame. So
I just thought of one that's terrible, but I'm so excited to share it. All right, keep going.
And the other version is, that meme of Leonardo DiCaprio, I think it's from, I can't remember what movie, but he's like holding out a martini glass.
The Great Gatsby.
Yeah, The Great Gatsby. So an emoji version of that as a flirt, I think could be really fun. Like, and I'm not sure it's as clear because you're like, are you toasting me as like my pick, or are you toasting me like you'd like to go on a date with me?
Well, what would the little thing under it be? Because there is, let's get coffee, let's get a drink, let's get a beer, and let's go out to eat.
Oh yeah.
But I think
let's get a drink
generic,
if I have
like let's go out.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate you. My mindset right now is because I don't use flirts and I don't really I don't engage with it at all. So now I'm thinking like, what would be a terrible flirt? And that's where my mind's at. So Trevor, you should go next.
I don't know. Mine, because I always find it like overwhelming with like, there's so many different ones for like you're hot or you're cute and they're just different vibes.
Yeah.
And there's one that's like you're cool and it's like a smiley face with like a little cool smirk and sunglasses. But I feel like there's been people, it's like, I don't really know how to convey interest in you, but you seem like a cool person. And maybe it's like, let's be friends. And it's like a little rabbit and like a car with like sunglasses. Like it's like, get in, loser, we're going shopping. But like a cool way to say like,
right,
let's be friends, but not.
Oh, you would so smash that button,
That would
Michael.
be the more serious answer for me if I were taking this assignment
You would
seriously.
smash that.
A cool bunny in a convertible with sunglasses. Like, let's be friends.
I like that.
I don't. Is yours so bad that it should be last?
It should be last.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you have a good one, Don. But
I don't have a great image for this yet, but I occasionally have conversations with guys where like, I'm still getting to know them. I'm still figuring things out. And they progress to the, I want to drink your bathwater portion a little more quickly than I'm ready to go there.
pump the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes. So that's what I want. I want like a playful flirt. That's a little swat to the nose saying, I'm interested. I want to stay here.
I know what this is. It's a stoplight going from green to yellow.
Yeah, that might be good. That might be
Because it's not a red light.
It's not a
It's
red
not a
light.
no.
I think that's a yellow light.
Yeah, I
think it's calm your tits, girl.
Yeah, I'm just like.
Well, I'm curious. Is that because they want to move to like meeting, or because they're like, wow, you seem really cool, I should fuck you?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just like, whoa.
Like we've skipped a couple phases.
We've skipped some steps.
Yeah. Well, mine's terrible. Okay. I think mine's delightfully terrible. It would be somebody proposing with a giant diamond ring.
Oh my God.
I don't know if this exists or not. I hope it does.
I think it does.
Actually, let me just check.
I think it does.
I was thinking
really
there
hope
has
it
to be a
does.
marry me one.
I love.
Yeah, there's
Oh
a
yeah,
marry me.
marry
There
me.
is a
Yeah, I
marry
guess
me one,
that's no. But I really just not just marry me, but
be my god.
yeah. Like I don't know.
There is not a marry me one.
Isn't there? I thought there was.
No, there's a lot that like.
I could have sworn there was.
It feels like there should be.
I'm in love. There's a flower for you.
I think that is in
myself.
I think that is in the service of the public interest that there is not a marry me emoji.
I know.
because it would get
Because it would be so bad.
It'd be so overused and always result in terrible things.
There are I get so many marriage proposals
exactly.
on Bigger City,
No,
and I would.
It wouldn't say marry me. It would be the diamond ring like proposal, but it would say be mine.
Oh,
That's what it would be.
yeah, that's worse.
Because marry me is almost like kind of innocent in a dumb way, but like
No, because marry me implies this sort of mutual commitment.
Yes,
but
exactly.
be mine is I would like to own you.
yes, exactly. That's what I mean.
I don't think it's be mine. I think it's you will be mine.
A little prison cell. That's cute.
Yeah,
I was assuming
made out of diamonds.
yours was going to be something like it's like a peach and it's like eat my ass or like I want to eat your ass. Like
No, a bird in a gold cage would be the you will be mine.
So, dear
that's so
listener, do you have a disastrous emoji you would like to share? Or do you have a amazing flirt that you think should be on the roster? Trevor, where could they share that with us?
Well, we're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. We don't check Twitter anymore, by the way. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Leave us 5 stars on your preferred podcast platform. Leave us a review. We're on Patreon as patreon.com/BigFatGayPod. See the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com, baby. Maybe you're scrolling through the flirts on Bigger City as you're listening to this. You found a great guy, Henry Cavill. I want to send him a message. And you see there's a new emoji, and what is that? That wasn't there before.
Oh God!
And it looks like a little emoji version of Michael, and below it says,
Molly, you in danger, girl.